Did you know that every morning you wake up is a new opportunity to create your day? It's a fresh start to design the experience you want to have. Yet, so often, we find ourselves letting external circumstances dictate our state of being. We allow the traffic, the weather, other people's moods, or any number of seemingly small things to bother us and throw us off balance. But what if I told you that you have the power to take back control? What if you could learn to act as if nothing bothers you, no matter what life throws your way? Sounds impossible, right? Well, let me break it down for you. We're all familiar with the age-old phrase, don't sweat the small stuff. But you see, from the mind's perspective, there is no small stuff or big stuff. It's all just stuff. It's all input. And you could choose how you're going to perceive and respond to that input. Think about it like this. Let's say you're driving to work and someone cuts you off in traffic. You instantly feel that surge of anger and frustration. Your heart rate increases. You might yell some choice words and you're thrown into a foul mood for the rest of your commute and even after arriving at the office. But here's the thing. In that moment when the person cut you off, nothing actually happened to you. No physical harm came to you. You didn't get into an accident or suffer any tangible consequences. It was a mere event that your mind perceived as a threat or an offense. Now, I'm not saying it's okay for people to drive recklessly or cut others off, but I am saying that you have a choice in how you're going to respond to that event. You can let it ruin your entire day, or you can learn to act as if it doesn't bother you at all. You see, when something happens that we perceive as unpleasant or bothersome, there's a chemical release that takes place in the body. We go into a fight or flight response. Our emotions take over and all logical reasoning goes out the window. But what if you could interrupt that process? What if, at the moment you start to feel that emotional charge, you could consciously choose to short circuit that response? It's not always easy, but with practice, you can train your mind and body to remain calm and centered no matter what comes your way. Acting as if nothing bothers you means developing what I call ultimate life force traits. It means stepping into your personal power and reminding yourself that you are the creator of your reality, not the victim of circumstances. One of those ultimate life force traits is imperturbability, the ability to remain calm, poised, and unflustered in the face of any situation. It's the opposite of easily disturbed or upset. It means knowing that you have the inner strength to weather any storm without losing your center. Another key trait is unflappability. Not easily ruffled or thrown off balance. When you're unflappable, you move through life with grace and ease, not allowing external events to ruffle your feathers or shake your composure. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Yeah, that all sounds great in theory, but how do I actually put this into practice? Well, my friends, it starts with awareness. You have to become hyper aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations in any given moment. When you feel that initial twinge of annoyance or anger brewing, recognize it for what it is, just an impulse signal from your brain. At that point, you have a choice. You can latch onto that feeling and let it consume you, or you can consciously interrupt the pattern. Take a deep breath, feel your feet grounding into the earth, and remind yourself, I am not going to let this bother me. I am in control of my state of being. It's like hitting the reset button in your mind and body. You're choosing to stay centered, poised, and unflustered no matter what's happening around you. And let me tell you, when you start acting as if nothing can bother you, it's incredibly empowering. You'll find that you move through life with a newfound sense of ease and lightness. Things that used to set you off will barely even register. You'll stop sweating the small stuff because you'll realize that it's all small stuff in the grand scheme of things. And here's the real kicker. When you start embodying these ultimate life force traits of imperturbability and unflappability, you'll notice that your external reality starts to shift. The situations and people that used to bother you will have less and less of an effect. It's like you're operating on a whole different frequency, one of inner peace and centeredness. So how do you get to that place? Well, my friends, it takes practice, lots and lots of practice, but stick with me because the payoff is so worth it. Start by catching yourself throughout the day whenever you feel that emotional charge rising. Maybe someone says something that rubs you the wrong way, or you spill your coffee, or you hit every red light on your commute. Whatever it is, pause for a moment and simply observe the feeling without judging it or latching onto it. Breathe deeply and remind yourself, I am not going to let this bother me. I am in control of my state of being. Say it out loud if you need to. Let those words become your mantra, your anchor back to a state of calm and ease. At first, it might feel a bit forced or unnatural. That's okay. Anything worth having takes time and practice. But as you continue to make this a habit, you'll find that it gets easier and easier to act as if nothing bothers you. Eventually, it will become second nature. And as you start to embody these traits of imperturbability and unflappability, you'll notice that your entire life starts to transform. Situations that used to cause you immense stress and anxiety will barely even register. You'll move through your days with a sense of lightness and ease that you never thought possible. Of course, there will still be challenges and difficult moments. That's just part of life. But you'll find that you're able to navigate them with far more grace and resilience than ever before. You'll be able to maintain your center no matter what storms come your way. So, my friends, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself today. Commit to learning how to act as if nothing bothers you. Commit to developing those ultimate life force traits of imperturbability and unflappability. It won't happen overnight, but with consistent practice and commitment, you'll find that you're able to move through life with a newfound sense of freedom, ease, and inner peace. And let me leave you with this. When you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you'll not only transform your own experience of life, but you'll become a beacon of inspiration for those around you. Your calm, centered presence will be a light that others are drawn to, a reminder that true peace and empowerment comes from within. So, are you ready to take back control of your state of being? Are you ready to step into your ultimate life force and learn to act as if nothing bothers you? If so, then let's get started. The journey begins today in this very moment. And I promise you, the rewards will be greater than you can even imagine. One of the biggest obstacles we face on this journey is our tendency to get caught up in the narrative of the situation. Our minds start spinning stories about why something is unfair, unjust, or just plain bothersome. But those stories only serve to amplify the emotional charge and make it even harder to stay centered. The key is to recognize that the stories are not reality. They're just interpretations created by when you can separate yourself from the narrative and simply observe what is happening without all the extra mental commentary. It becomes much easier to respond from a place of calm clarity rather than reactivity. For example, let's go back to that scenario of someone cutting you off in traffic. Your mind might immediately start telling you stories like, that person is so rude and inconsiderate. Don't they know how to drive properly? This is going to make me late now. And with each thought, you get more and more amped up emotionally. But if you can catch yourself and simply state the facts without embellishment, someone merged into my lane, it neutralizes the situation. You don't have to make it into a big drama about you or assign negative intentions. It's just something that happened, plain and simple. From that place of objectivity, it's much easier to act as if it doesn't bother you. Another powerful practice is to reframe negative situations as opportunities for growth. When something happens that would normally push your buttons, you can choose to view it as a chance to exercise your imperturbability and unflappability muscles. It's like spiritual weightlifting for your equanimity. So instead of saying, oh, not this again, when faced with a trying circumstance, you can think to yourself, excellent. Here's my opportunity to practice acting as if this doesn't bother me at all. Approach it with genuine curiosity and excitement about putting your skills to the test. With this mindset shift, you'll find that challenging situations no longer trigger the same knee-jerk emotional responses. You'll be able to respond from a place of consciousness rather than just unconscious reaction. And each time you're able to stay unflappable, it strengthens those neural pathways and makes it easier the next time. Speaking of neural pathways, understand that when you're actively working to change deep-seated patterns and habits, you're quite literally rewiring your brain. Those old neural connections that used to fire up anger, resentment, or irritation don't have to remain fixed. You can forge new pathways of equanimity through repetition of new thought and behavior patterns. It takes consistent practice, but just think about how freeing it would be to no longer be hostage to your knee-jerk emotional responses. To be able to navigate through life's inevitable ups and downs with grace, poise, and an inner calm that is truly unshakable. That is the gift of acting as if nothing bothers you. And as you embody this way of being more and more, it will extend into all areas of your life, not just in response to external circumstances, but also in how you relate to your own internal storms of thoughts and emotions. You'll find it easier to let things go, to forgive, to release resentments and grudges. Everything just becomes lighter and more fluid. Ultimately, learning to act as if nothing bothers you is about taking radical responsibility for your state of being. It's realizing that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of your reality through the energy and vibration you emit. When you interact with the world from a place of centeredness and inner calm, you naturally attract more of that reflected back. The situations and people that used to push your buttons will seem to miraculously fade away because you've risen to a higher level of consciousness that doesn't feed into that old cyclical energy anymore. So I invite you to embrace this practice wholeheartedly. Approach it with patience, commitment, and even a spirit of playfulness. See everything that life puts in front of you as an opportunity to stretch and strengthen those imperturbability muscles. And keep reminding yourself that you are the one with the power to choose your state in any given moment. The eating journey isn't always easy, but let me assure you, it is worthwhile. Because on the other side is a life of freedom, empowerment, and deep inner peace that is truly priceless. So let's get started, shall we? The path to becoming unflappable in the face of anything begins right here, right now. One of the core principles we need to embrace is the understanding that nothing that happens to us is inherently good or bad. Those are just labels and judgments we assign based on our conditioning. At their core, events are neutral. It's our perception and inner response that charges them with meaning and emotional weight. Think about a childproof safety lid on a bottle of medication. To a child, that lid is just a frustrating obstacle preventing them from getting what they want. But to a parent, that same lid is a vital protection, keeping their child safe from potential harm. Same lid, completely different perception based on context and programming. When we can step back and recognize that events in themselves are neutral, it becomes easier to act as if they don't bother us. Because the truth is, from a higher vantage point, they actually don't. It's only when we get wrapped up in our personal narratives and emotional triggers that things start to bother us. Now, I'm not suggesting we become emotionally numb or disconnect from our humanity. Emotions are a natural part of the human experience, but we can learn to relate to them in a different way as temporary guests rather than sticky long-term residents taking up space in our psyche. The next time a situation arises that would normally push your buttons, try this. Instead of rejecting the emotion or struggling against it, simply open your awareness to receive it, almost like you're observing a cloud passing through the sky. Don't latch onto the story behind it. Just feel the pure energetic sensation in your body as it arises, peaks, and ultimately dissipates. You might notice tightness in your chest or belly as anger moves through, or perhaps a flushed, heated sensation with annoyance. Rather than avoiding or suppressing these feelings, just open yourself up and consciously experience them, but don't fuel them with mental proliferation. Like watching a wave rise up and then pull back into the ocean. See, with this curiosity and open acceptance, you'll find that emotions have far less charge and gravitational pull. They lose their stickiness. You create space for them to move through you rather than becoming enveloped or overwhelmed by them. This is key for being able to act as if external circumstances don't bother you. Because here's the core truth. Nothing outside of you can actually bother you unless you give it permission to do so from the inside. Those triggers only have power because we've given them power over decades of patterning. But in this moment, you can make the conscious choice to withdraw that power, to no longer engage with those old conditioned reactions. It all comes back to realizing that the locus of control is within you, not in external people or circumstances. As you get more practiced at this inner work of separating your sense of okayness from external conditions, you'll likely notice two things. First, you'll find yourself getting bothered by fewer and fewer things in your daily life. Those situations that used to set you off like a rocket will feel more like gentle nudges that you can easily release. And second, on those occasions, when you do get momentarily ruffled or knocked off center, you'll bounce back to your default mode of imperturbability much more quickly. The charge won't linger and start to bleed into other areas. You'll be able to recenter yourself rapidly and stay in a state of steady, conscious calm. This all points to one of the greatest benefits of cultivating this way of being. You'll conserve massive amounts of vital energy that used to get frittered away on negativity, stress, and reactivity. Just imagine what you could do, create, and experience in life when you're no longer leaking life force needlessly. You'll have so much more presence, clarity, and personal power available to focus on what really matters to you. Your relationships will transform as you show up as a grounded, non-reactive anchor. You'll make decisions from a place of discernment rather than being swayed by every passing emotional impulse. In many ancient wisdom traditions, the highest achievement a human being could attain was considered to be the state of utter imperturbability. to remain poised, unwavering, and soul-steadied in the face of any circumstance, whether poverty or wealth, loss or gain, pleasure or pain. The sages knew that, in such a state of imperturbable realization, we become architects of our reality rather than victims of happenstance. We live as conscious creators, unflustered by the ups and downs that ruffle the feathers of those still bound to reaction and lack of self-mastery. Of course, such heights of self-actualization are a journey of committed practice over many lifetimes. But the beautiful thing is, we can start walking that path today in this very moment, simply by setting the intention to act as if nothing bothers us. With that intention firmly rooted, every issue or challenge that arises becomes an opportunity to stretch and strengthen our imperturbability muscles a little more. We get to practice the art of staying unwavering amidst any storm. And each time we do, we fortify those neural pathways of inner calm and reinforce new patterns for the mind and body. Eventually, being imperturbable, unflappable, and acting as if nothing bothers you will become your natural embodied state of being. Not something you have to work at, but how you simply experience yourself moving through life, poised, grounded, soul-centered. From that bedrock of realized equanimity, your actions, choices, and creations will flow with harmony, wisdom, and grace. So keep training, keep practicing. Keep recommitting to the intention every day. Celebrate your successes, have compassion for yourself on the days that are more challenging, but never give up on your ability to master acting as if nothing bothers you. Because in doing so, you'll be doing more than just learning to ride the waves of life's ups and downs with skill. You'll be undertaking the supreme spiritual work of reclaiming your divine birthright as an empowered, sovereign creator being. And that is the grandest journey any of us can undertake in this human experience. So let's walk that path together, shall we? A life of profound freedom and unwavering inner peace awaits. At the heart of it is the understanding that we are not our thoughts, emotions, or external circumstances. We are the conscious awareness beholding all of those transient phenomena. The thoughts will arise and pass away. The emotions will ebb and flow. Situations will constantly be changing around us. But our true nature remains unchanged, a field of pure potentiality, unbothered by the dance of impermanence. But when we're able to firmly anchor ourselves in that realization of our deepest, most fundamental self, the world around us takes on a different hue. The challenges, frustrations, disappointments, and grievances that used to trigger us and bother us no longer have the same weight or gravitational pull. Because we recognize that all of those experiences are just temporary guests in the infinite expanse of our being. They come, we witness them with open curiosity and acceptance, and eventually they go like clouds passing through a wide open sky. Our unshakable essence remains untroubled and serene. This isn't a bypass or spiritual bypassing of authentic human feeling and experience. It's not about becoming numb or checked out from the richness of life. Quite the opposite, in fact. By no longer unconsciously resisting or attaching to the changing phenomena around us, we open ourselves to experiencing everything with a freshness, vividness, and depth that's simply not possible when we're chained to our reactive patterns. Think of a time when you laughed until you cried, or felt waves of soul-stirring gratitude, or gazed at a newborn baby with joyful awe. In those moments, were you concerned about what someone said that upset you earlier? Or were you distracted by that rude driver who cut you off? Of course not. You were fully immersed and absorbed in the beautiful energy and truth of that present moment experience. That is the essence of acting as if nothing bothers you, not a hardening or shutting off, but an opening, a radical availability to the richness of whatever this moment has to offer, unsullied by the mental baggage we so often drag around with us out of old habits. When we taste that freedom of being fully present and unbothered, something within us remembers. We remind ourselves of the truth of who and what we are at our core, that infinitely present, awake field of consciousness that can never be truly disturbed, no matter how intense the winds of change around us. And we realize, with a gentle sigh of recognition, of course, this is my true home. From that space of centeredness and realization, our entire perception shifts. The events, situations, and triggers that once held so much charge over us now have a suppleeness, a lack of solidity. We can work with them, engaging from a place of creative flow and conscious choice, rather than being hijacked by their familiar grooves in our psyche. And as we continue fortifying this new posture of being, the interpenetrating dimensions of energy, emotion, and physical reality all realign in kind. Just as the mind shapes matter, the imperturbable state of our consciousness begins to effortlessly reshape our inner and outer experience of life itself. Situations that would have bothered us deeply before no longer even arise, because we're no longer participating in the resonant fields and patterns that used to catalyze them into manifestation. We've shifted our home frequency to a plane of harmony, synchronicity, and creative mastery. The people who used to trigger us and push our buttons may still come across our path from time to time, but it's as if they're no longer speaking our language. Their energy ricochets off our centered, imperturbable force field without leaving so much as a scratch or dent. We don't have to fight them, avoid them, or even engage. We just allow them to pass through our sphere unconcerned and unbothered. This is the profound alchemy and grace of staking our identity in the deepest ground of being. We realize our ultimate sovereignty. External circumstances can swirl around us in their cyclical dances, but they hold no dominion over the unalterable peace and truth at our core. And from that invincible space of imperturbability, we become true forces of nature ourselves, not battered and shaped by the winds and waves of life, but powerful vortices that harmonize those elemental forces into higher degrees of order, creativity, and blessing for all. This path is not transcendence from the human experience, but full integration and embodiment of the totality of who we are, vulnerable feeling beings of flesh and emotion. Yes, but also eternal, limitless consciousness, cradling it all in the perfumed embrace of our imperturbable true nature. So let us walk this path with humility and patience, tasting the profound stillness available in each moment, no matter the surrounding turbulence. For it is only through this radical ease of being that we ultimately flower into our greatest human potential and become the unwavering lights the world needs at this pivotal time. When nothing bothers us, we become the unwavering, peaceful presence and clarity that helps dream a new dream for our world and all beings. That is the power and great privilege of this journey. I'll meet you there on the unbothered shores of the possible. One of the core inversions we must make on this journey is to shift our locus of identity from the personal, egoic self to the vast, transpersonal expanse of consciousness itself. As long as we remain firmly rooted in the mirage of the separate self, we'll continue to experience the world through that filtered lens of me against other, which gives rise to so much of our suffering and disturbance. But when we can disidentify from that small sense of self and recognize the deeper, unified field of pure awareness that we are, everything shifts. The triggers and upheavals that used to bother us so intensely start to lose their sticky charge, like riptides losing their fierce pull in a vast, endless ocean. This isn't a rational, mind-based process of making ourselves okay with undesirable circumstances. It's more of a direct reorienting of our very beingness, like tuning into a different radio channel, where the ego mind tries to control and micromanage reality according to its preferences. This transcendent eye of spirit simply witnesses, allowing whatever arises to unfold in perfect naturalness. There's a profound letting go that happens. Letting go of grasping at pleasure and averting pain, letting go of our ingrained reflexes to accept or reject, hold on to, or push away. Like a leaf carried on the seamless currents of the wind, we surrender our habitual controlling tendencies and become an open vessel for the ceaseless flowering of life itself. Of course, this is all much easier said than done. Our ego patterning runs millennia deep, reinforced by lifetimes of forgetting our true nature and mistaking the personal self for the entirety of who we are. So it takes tremendous commitment, dedication, and gentleness with ourselves to undo those ancestral knots. One particularly potent practice is to continuously take pause throughout your days and feel into the open, spacious awareness that is present in this moment, right here, right now, before your thoughts define it, before your emotions colorize it. There is a simple, pristine presence that is the pure subjectivity beholding this present experience, unbounded by its contents. Can you feel that unconditioned awareness surrounding and substantiating every perception, every thought, every sensory experience? That is the very essence of your being, older than the universe itself and younger than this present moment. When you temporarily disidentify from all the learned beliefs, memories, preferences, and labels, what remains is the simple, lucent ground of your awakened nature. From that spacious expanse brought into living presence, the experiences that would normally bother you have much less of a gravitational pull. You start to experience them almost as if observing a live theater performance, engaging, immersive. possessing a certain dramatic weight and momentum, yet always happening within the open, unbothered awareness that you are. Thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances become more like temporary guests in the abiding awakeness, rather than burdens you have to carry or prisons you're confined within. There's a natural buoyancy that arises, allowing them to come, go, and be as they are without weightness or fixation. And it's from that free, centered, unbothered state of pure allowing that your true creative powers arise. No longer encumbered by the gravity of resistance, you become a channel for higher harmonies and greater possibilities to stream into manifestation. The universe flows through you as a holographic instrument of its own evolution, orchestrating symphony after symphony of sacred unveiling. This transformation doesn't necessarily mean that you'll never experience intense emotions, painful circumstances, or the whole glorious commute of human experiencing again. In fact, you'll likely find that you can feel those experiences, even more rawly and richly, when you're not buttoning them down or sublimating them through your filters. But the context will have shifted. You'll be able to hold and feel the intensity of those experiences within the vast, unbothered openness of your being, like a dream, however vivid, being dreamt within the seamless continuum of consciousness itself, which means you'll suffer less, reside more fully in presence, and open each experience as a revelatory homecoming. Through it all, there's a deepening realization, the understanding that the all-pervading peace and wholeness you've been seeking was never apart from you to begin with. It's the very essence of who and what you are beneath all the conditioned ideas and mental projections of a separate self. The ultimate homecoming is when that recognition blossoms into the direct, living experience of your eternal, imperturbable nature as the one self. So keep returning to that source awareness, that still point of presence throughout your days. Let it be the open embrace within which everything arises and returns to source. Steep yourself in its unshakable peace, its unwavering acceptance of what is. And from that space of radical, non-dual embrace, learn to act as if nothing bothers you, not because you've donned a spiritual bypass or mask of apathy, but because you've realized the vivid truth of the infinite and eternal. Every experience, no matter how charged, is welcomed home to that vast, all-encompassing ground. This is the great unfolding that our beings are tuned for, the full blooming of our enlightened nature. Difficulties and challenges still arrive, but like a force of nature itself, we meet them with imperturbable wisdom and indestructible presence. It is the living embodiment of the sacred and the ultimate healing for a world swimming in disturbance. So let us walk this path together, utterly committed to resting as that unbothered, unsurpassable expanse within which all worlds appear and disappear, dream after dream. In doing so, we become the very source we've been seeking, the unwavering ground the universe longs for, and our light and peace ripples outward, quietly ushering in a new dawn of sanity and sacred self-recognition. We have the power to be that transformative presence right now in each passing moment. All that's required is that we choose to act as if nothing in truth can ever truly bother us. For we are the home in which all experiences arise and return, beloved and eternal.